Hello and welcome to the Socially Ambitious Podcast. I'm your co-host Liv.
I'm your co-host Jess.
And I'm your co-host Anna.
On this show, we'll be delving into all things social media, delegation, and influencer marketing.
Join us for insightful conversations on mastering work-life balance, pursuing your passions, and crafting the life you've always dreamed of.
Get ready for actionable tips and empowering discussions.
Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Socially Ambitious. I am your host, Liv. Today, I am so excited for our guest. Her name is Hannah. She is the influencer's assistant and personal assistant to mega influencer Cindy Prado. If you have been a longtime listener, we had Cindy on back in the day. And if you don't already know who she is one of, I think, in my humble opinion, Miami's biggest, most successful influencers. Her handle is Cindy Prado. She has 2.8 million followers. She has worked with the world's biggest brands. She is such a sweetheart. Her content is absolutely gorgeous and stunning. She's traveling the world, living the dream. And I reached out to Hannah to ask if she would come on because Cindy will often post her and Hannah shooting content together. And I just thought it would be cool to have Hannah on to talk about her experience, how she got into this role, and what she's learned as Cindy's influencer's assistant. This is a disclaimer. She did not graduate from the course. Cindy had posted on her Instagram story that she was looking to hire an assistant, and Hannah reached out to her, and that's how she got the job. So we talk all about, the previous roles and how they benefited what she's doing now and how she was a micro influencer herself. And that's kind of how she already knew a little bit about the business. So I'm sure she had, enough experience for Cindy to trust that she would know what she's doing with a little bit of training. And it's just so, so cool to hear that, just to hear her story and how things have evolved and how this role has led to another role in the influencer industry. And it's just a really great story. And I think it gives such a good view on what it is like to work for someone who is a macro influencer and what that hands-on day-to-day experience is really like. And I think for a lot of people, that is the dream job is, to work for someone that they've looked up to or they followed for a long time. And that's what the situation was with Hannah. She had followed Cindy for years, really looked up to her and her work. And then she had the opportunity to work for her, and she's worked for her for over a year now. She absolutely loves it. She's learned so much from her. They are, of course, now friends and family, and she travels with her. So it really just shows like the best case scenario of what an influencer's assistant can look like. And it's just a lot for a lot of people listening, the dream job, the dream scenario to work for someone full time, for it to lead to other opportunities, to be able to travel with them, to genuinely like them as a person and show up every day and really love what they do and get to be creative. So I'm so excited for you guys to listen to this episode. I know you're going to absolutely love it. If you do love it, please share it with a friend. Please write us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening to this. And I won't hold you any longer. We'll get right into the episode with Hannah. Okay, guys, I'm here with Hannah at the Socially Ambitious virtual studio. I'm so excited to have her on. Thank you for joining us. For those who aren't already familiar with you and what you do, could you just do a really quick, brief introduction of who you are and what you currently do?
Yeah, so my name is Hannah Sklar and I live in Miami. I'm currently Cindy Prado's assistant, amongst other things, which I'm sure we will get into. But yeah, my life's all over the place.
I love it. That's the best kind of life, right?
Yeah.
There's this quote that I've been referring to lately called when I get like overwhelmed because I'm like in the middle of a move and like there's just a lot happening right now. I'm like, this is what it feels like to live an exciting life. You just have to remind yourself of that sometimes. So it's good to be all over the place, but definitely want to unpack a lot about how you got to where you are now, how you ended up working as Cindy's assistant. But we'll start from the very beginning. I'm curious to know what you might have studied in college. And yeah, let's start there and then we'll deep dive into everything else.
Yeah, it's a lot. So basically, I studied event management in college. I went to the University of Central Florida in Orlando. So I'm a Florida girl. I've always been in the hospitality industry, customer service, sales, marketing, all of that. So from doing events, I actually started working in corporate travel. So after college, I went into working at American Express for their platinum and then their Centurion card.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah, corporate travel. And that was, and I thought my dream job out of college for sure. So I got a lot of my corporate experience out of the way. And during that time, I always had a food blog on the side. So just, a social media account dedicated for food because every girl loves taking photos of food at restaurants. So I started that and I was just doing it for fun. And it really turned into something that I started monetizing. So I was invited to restaurants and received a comped meal in exchange for like pictures and videos and stories. So I got to meet a bunch of restaurant owners and like marketing teams and other food bloggers, as well as like PR agencies. And that was like super fun. And during COVID, I got sent a lot of product from brands and started doing that. So I had more time to dedicate to social media. And of course, everyone loves having their own creative outlet and definitely took advantage during COVID time as well.
Right.
So yeah, I left the corporate world. And when I saw I was making more money with social media, which is absolutely insane, that can even be a thing. Like I had no idea when I first started, but I like established my connections and everything. So I started doing that, but I'm just the type of person, just like everyone else, like I have to be doing everything and I want to like learn and grow. And I'm just a yes girl.
I love
So
that.
I would work events on the side, help brands with marketing on the side. And then, of course, I knew about Cindy Prado from actually posting. She posted with Celsius and Vital Proteins at the time. And I worked just as a brand ambassador for those companies.
I want to know, just out of curiosity, a little bit more about the corporate job with American Express. Like when you say corporate travel, what does that even mean?
Yeah, so basically helping card members plan their travel itineraries and like fulfill any concierge needs. So of course that's a benefit
Okay.
with having the card. So I've worked for many different credit cards and when I got to American Express, I started with the platinum one and the card members would call in and I would help, arrange
Okay.
their travel.
Okay, cool. And how did you feel like when you switched over to doing social media full time? Did that feel like it was more up your alley? Do you feel like the corporate background kind of gave you the skill set that you needed to really thrive in social media, or do you feel like it was two kind of completely separate routes?
Definitely two completely separate routes. Of course, that I had a foundation of experience, with the corporate world and how to speak to people in customer service and email etiquette and all of that.
Okay, right.
Jumping into social media full time was definitely not something I saw myself doing, but I love the flexibility. And I just thought maybe if I concentrated on one thing, that I would grow
Right.
doing that one thing. So it was completely caught everyone off guard, probably. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to roll with it.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. There's something that Jess and I used to say a lot, my co-host, is that, it's hard when you're an ambitious type of person and you want to do everything and you want to have your toes dipped in all these different places. And then you look back and you have a lot of like halfway built bridges. And you wonder like if I had just put my all into one thing, maybe I would have already had a full bridge and I'd be like, across to whatever is there. But
For sure.
it's definitely hard to like scale it back. So it's really like wise of you to have that foresight to be like, let me just put all this energy into one thing and see how it goes. Did you feel like it was a leap of faith at the time? Was that scary for you?
It was scary for me. I mean, we're all taught, go to school, go to college, get your degree,
Right.
get your 9 to 5 job. Like that's, what I was taught. But of course, everyone has like a different path. And you just have to say YOLO and like go for it sometimes because we have one life to live. And if you don't try, like you don't know. You know?
Totally. Yeah. It'll always be a what if. So
Yeah.
sometimes you
So
just
I
gotta
took
pull the
that what
trigger.
if and I just went full force into it. But again, like I said, I just say yes to everything. I want to do a bunch of different side projects. So of course, like it's hard to focus on one thing, when
Right.
you're constantly getting steered in different directions as well.
Definitely. And as like a creative person too, it's even harder because, your mind goes in all these different places and gets excited about projects. So it is hard to like reel that in and really focus on things.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
let's now fast forward a bit. Tell us how you ended up getting the opportunity to work with Cindy, how your guys' paths crossed. What did that look like?
Yeah. So obviously doing the food blogging, I had seen her post for Vital Proteins and Celsius. And I had done brand ambassador work for those companies in the past and obviously live in Miami and know who she is. And
Hmm.
I didn't keep up with many influencers at the time, but I definitely loved like how original her content was and her personality just shines through. And she just, everyone, she's just the girl boss in Miami.
Hmm.
So basically, she had posted looking for an influence, like an assistant. And it's definitely not something that I ever saw myself doing, nor would I probably ever do for anyone else. But of course, when you look up to someone, you'd love to like know how they work and how they operate and everything. So all my friends were sending me, the ones that knew like how much I loved her, was sending me the her posting for it. So basically, I had a flexible schedule and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send my resume and information over. I never thought I would even be noticed, by her at all. But again, you never know. So
Gotta
manifest what
shoot
you
your
want,
shot.
shoot your shot for sure. So before I knew it, I got a Zoom call with her and her team. So I got to meet her and see what she was looking for. And basically, after that, once she put a face to the name, she had invited me to come to a shoot of hers and film behind the scenes content and help with TikToks.
Cool.
So it was definitely crazy to meet her in person, after seeing her content and, following along and then like having that Zoom call with her. And, one morning after that, she basically asked if I was still available and had a flexible schedule. And from then on, we've been working together ever since. So that's been over a year ago, which
Wow.
is absolutely crazy.
So
And I
cool.
just thought, learning from someone, there's my dog. On her level, like a macro level compared to, a micro influencer level would definitely be beneficial to me. And yeah, it's been so fun.
That's so cool. And I love that it came about in a very like natural, organic way. And it is so cool to be able to have the opportunity to learn from someone who you have been looking up to. And I love how you saw the opportunity and even though you didn't ever see yourself doing something like this, I love that you didn't feel like you were too above it or, that it wasn't like right for you. Like you saw the good in it. And I think that's something that's so important is that people are very quick to assume, especially with influencers. I think a lot of people are intimidated to work with them or they just have a bad kind of reputation, I feel like, and people just assume that we're all bitches and like we don't treat people well or whatever. So I love that you saw really like the good in the opportunity and what it could bring to you and you went for it and didn't listen to like any of the negative maybe talk around working for an influencer or the industry in general.
Yeah, like I didn't know about what it would look like to be an influencer's assistant, especially
Right.
someone of her size. Nor did I think that was, in my future. But, because I knew of her and like loved her content, I was definitely excited to learn. And I saw, that she needed help and I did have a flexible schedule and um, it just went from there. So I didn't really have any expectations with it. But it's been so fun. I feel like it is a perfect position for someone that does have a flexible schedule that maybe doesn't like the whole 9 to 5 thing, because it's so fun and every day is really, really different. And on the influencer side, of course, you have to pick someone, you're comfortable with and you trust because
Mhm.
it is a lot.
Yeah. And I'm so curious to know what you feel like, because this is another thing that I feel some people might not make the connection for is like starting as an influencer's assistant as a micro influencer yourself or someone who wants to be a creator, that is such like a
It's important.
loophole. I feel like it's hands-on experience so quickly and you get thrown into it. And I feel like that is the best way to learn is to learn from someone who's more, who's already there, who's already doing it, who already has like a full income from it. Like I feel like that is such a good way to get your foot in the door and to learn at such an expedited pace. So I'm curious to know what you feel like you've learned coming from having your own, food blog and coming with your own background in influencing and micro influencing and wanting to grow. What do you feel like you've learned in the past year on that side of things?
hmm Well, what I love about her is she's very like self-taught. So she taught herself the camera, she taught herself how to edit. She really went full force into
Right.
everything that she loved and created, a platform for herself. So basically, I've learned a ton from her, just everything from learning to use a professional camera because I was only using my phone
Mm.
for content. Um, really just seeing how she goes about, email management, receiving packages from the different brands. She styles the looks herself. I mean, she's just great at what she does. And
Totally.
like her editing and all of her ideas are very like thought out and she's
Mhm.
just super creative. So it's just fun to work alongside her and like her team to see the process of like the brand sending maybe the creative brief, her getting to select the products that she wants to shoot, receiving the products, deciding what to do with the product or the clothing item, and then like making it actually come to life and then selecting the pictures that we like the most and editing and then of course to the point where it goes live and picking the caption and making sure it has the specific like hashtags and
Mhm.
mentions and all of that. So really getting to do and see everything and really see her thought process through it all as well. And we're together like every day. Like obviously you get to know someone very well when you
Right.
work with them every day, when you travel with them. So it's just been so fun. And I feel like we're like friends at this point, like friends and family and all of that. So I couldn't have asked for anything else. And of course, like it leads to other opportunities as well.
Right. That's so cool. Yeah, being able to see the whole creative process, especially for, and this is coming from someone who's been in the industry for like 8 7 8 years now. Like Cindy is honestly like one of the best creatives in Miami, in my opinion. And the way she does her content is so different from everyone else. And she has such a specific, unique style that like if you were to be someone's assistant to watch their creative journey, like she's the ideal person because it is such a creative journey and she does put so much like thought and love into each
Mhm.
post versus and no everyone has their own style, no hate to anyone, but versus just like posting up in front of your car and taking a pic and being like, yeah, that's good, like an iPhone pic, whatever.
Yeah.
Like she definitely puts the time in, like she puts the hustle in and you can tell from her brand partnerships and from her work that she really does care about what she's putting out there and it's I'm sure it's very cool to watch that whole process.
Yeah, to see it firsthand is like so different and crazy. And she really does put a lot of time into it. And all of her brands that she works with are, loyal to her. And like she's
Because of
worked with
that.
them for years because of that. So it's all about relationships and everything in
Totally.
the industry.
Totally. You mentioned how it has led to other opportunities. I'd love to hear more about that as well.
Yeah. So the management group that she works with, obviously, I work with as well. We have a text message thread. They send over the deals and the briefs, and like they make sure, everything gets shot and posted at the time that it needs to. So I've developed relationships with her team and basically took on another role. So now I also, in addition to, working with Cindy daily or, whenever she does need, because,
Mm-hmm.
I'm flexible to her and vice versa, I do business development and influencer outreach for the management group. So bringing in new talent, new faces, doing outreach, helping with their business development,
Cool.
all of that. So it's like super cool to work on both sides and now also get to see the brand side of things as well and be looped into all the emails and all the communication. So now I kind of see both sides of it.
Yeah, that is so, so cool. And I love that. And that's something we talk about often too, is just that, when you do get hired by an influencer, that's not like that's the start. That's never the end because typically, especially if you're good and especially if you guys develop a really strong relationship, like you will end up inevitably getting involved in all the other things that they do. That's a perfect example. And like another example is my assistant, Michaela. She started as my assistant and now she is like our chief operations
Oh, wow.
officer for Socially Ambitious because it's like when you find someone good, you want to keep them and you want to build that relationship and you want to put more on their plate if they can take
Yeah.
it.
And
So
I'm
I
the type of
always
person, I'm like, give me more. Like, I can do
Yes.
more. Like, I definitely put a lot on my plate and want to do a lot. And of course, like, I have corporate experience. I have all these experiences from, different gigs. So I just want to be able to do the most and make my time as valuable, as possible.
Totally. And you're just taking full advantage of what's in front of you, and like those when you're good at what you do and you love what you do and you show up every day with a good attitude, like those doors will open for you.
Mhm.
And then it's up to you to just walk through them. So it's so cool.
Exactly. You get what you make of things, that's what I was going
100%.
for. So of course I want to like grow and I want to transition into other roles and I always want to be like involved, but there's always more to do. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, I 100%. And I think being an assistant can just open the door to so many things, especially just in the industry in general. Like, I think a lot of times people have taken our course too, where they take it and sometimes they don't end up as an assistant per se, but they end up in an influencer management company or something within the industry. But because they've learned that skill set, they're able to apply it.
And there's so much you can do within the industry. So it's a
Yeah.
good skill set to have.
It is. I'm curious to know if you feel like when you first started with her, how was the learning curve? Was there things that were new to you, shocking to you? Did you feel like it was a little overwhelming at first, or did you already have prior knowledge of a lot of the things like the campaign management and like a creative brief and things like that?
Yeah, so I definitely received creative briefs for my own blog.
Right.
So I was aware of like the campaign management and, knowing about deliverables and due dates and
Okay.
all of that. But I mean, when I jumped in, again, I had no idea what to expect and I didn't know all that went with, the role.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have a lot to learn and like getting to know someone else's style, how to shoot them, what they like, their angles, how they edit, just learning the
Right.
person. So there was a lot of learning, but like I can learn easily and she's
Mm-hmm.
very patient and wants me to, learn all that I want to know. So I
That's
ask her a
cool.
lot of questions. She's like very open. And now we work really well together.
So cool. And that's kind of like the fun part too, right? Is like
Yeah.
it's the opposite of that corporate structure where things are just very, by the books, a little cold, like structured, and it's like you get to learn a person, which is fun.
And you have to be flexible. So every
Mhm.
brand is different, every day is different. Social media just complete like it's ever changing,
Right.
like what people are looking for, what brands want,
Right.
what people want to see,
Mhm.
the switching over from like photos to video.
Right.
People want to see your personality and everything as well, like talking on camera. So
Hmm.
it's just cool to see like how social media changes throughout the years. And obviously, I had only really done food and travel blogging, but
Hmm.
I had never really been in like beauty or like fashion or any of that, and fitness as well. So
Right.
it's cool to see like how different all of them are, but all of them have like their similarities as well.
Yeah. So, so cool. I would love to know what a typical day looks like for you. You show up to work and what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's like different every single day, I feel like, but she gets a ton of packages. So we're always getting packages, organizing them. We set up the day, set up the week, make a shoot list, see what needs priority. She's always styling looks. She's super good at that. So we're always finding ways, to put things together. And we'll go around Miami, like different areas, taking pictures and taking videos. So that's like really fun to find shoot locations
Hmm.
for her. And then, of course, taking the content and then getting home and selecting the photos and like helping edit. So I've learned a lot in the editing world as well. And she has her own style to her and she like shows a story, on
Yeah.
her reels and everything, which I've always loved. So a lot goes into everything that
Right.
that she posts. But yeah, just based on the week and based on the day, things can change. So, we're flexible and we work alongside her team to make sure everything gets done. And I've
Oh,
traveled with her quite a bit as well. So we'll be going to Dominican Republic soon and
okay.
maybe Europe in the fall.
Oh, so
So
fun.
so it's fun to change things up a little bit,
Yeah.
but it is hard to say that there's like a typical day because there isn't,
Yeah.
but you make sure like everything gets shot and done and executed properly. And we're always just trying on clothes and
So fun.
clothes.
Yeah, like I don't know, sounds like a dream.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's definitely, I always have to be doing something different.
Right.
So it's definitely cool instead of
Cool.
just sitting
Clocking
here,
in at a desk, yeah.
which is
So
exciting.
yeah, it sounds so exciting. And I it sounds like you help the most in the content creation aspect of things.
Yeah, because I'm the one with Cindy like day to day.
Right.
So of course, we work with her team and I
Mhm.
receive the briefs and the shoot list and all of that. But it's kind of like my job to make sure like I'm getting everything together. We
Right.
get the shoot bag, we drive in the car, we shoot the content, like a lot of calendar management and email management as well. So there's really a lot more that goes into it than people may think, which is
Right.
always funny because I mean, social media is a lot more than people know,
Yeah,
or
absolutely. As far as inbox management and campaign management, does her team mostly handle that? Like, is she the one in her inbox? Are you the one in her inbox? Are you both in the inbox?
So we're both in the inbox. She receives a lot personally, and then she'll shoot that over to me, and then I'll send over, information or rates and see what they're looking for. So
Okay.
there's a lot of deals that I manage with her, and then there's deals that her like agency sends her and that
Right.
are already brought to us, and then
Right.
I work with them just to make sure that we get the job done.
Right.
So a little bit of both.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, because I think a lot of people look for this role as a virtual assistant, which is really cool. If you're looking to be remote, work from anywhere in the world, things like that. But also, there's definitely people who would prefer the in-person kind of relationship and tasks. What do you feel like? Never mind. I feel like we kind of went over that already. Because it's like shooting in person. Like that's pretty
Yeah,
much the
like the
majority of
role,
the job.
yeah, the role that she was looking for was definitely someone in person to be with her day to day,
Right.
take the content, and a lot of it has turned into like a personal assistant too. So I do a little bit of everything. I'm like her house manager, like,
Mhm.
social media assistant, but also like a personal assistant. So as time went on and as like she developed, the trust and like got to know me, basically now I just handle everything. So there are things that I can do when she's out of town for her and for her virtually, but a lot is definitely in person.
Yeah. I saw you like reorganize her pantry the other day. I was like,
I do
that's such a slay.
I do fun things like that all the time. Like I definitely kind of made her house my home as well, since like
Yeah.
I'm there so often. And she gives me a lot of like flexibility and trust to really like make it my own and know where, had to learn where everything goes in all of her
Right.
closets and like all of her drawers. And we have spots for everything. So it is funny. Like she calls me a bunch of times and she's like, "Do you know where this is?" Like I know her house more than she does sometimes.
I
Um,
love
and I'm there so much and I help, her with her cats when she's out of town.
it.
So of course, I've taken on many different roles. And I'm just like here to help out whenever.
Yeah. And I'm sure like to her, I can only imagine how invaluable that help is, especially as someone who does travel so often, is so busy, has so much going on and on her plate. Like that relief she must feel to be able to trust a partner in her life, like to just be there, know shit's getting handled, know things are getting organized. Like that must be just the best feeling ever for her.
Yeah, she definitely does so much. And so finding someone that you do trust, that you are comfortable with and you get along with and like is very important. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been definitely very rewarding and I feel very lucky to like work with her and get to know her like I have. So it's been super fun.
What do you feel like your favorite parts of the job are, if you had to name a few?
So my favorite part, I feel like, is just the fact that it's very fast paced and
Hmm.
like we're always doing something different. Of course, just learning from her, like as a whole and as a person, and getting to go to, like, for example, like the swim week events and like different events with her, and like getting to meet people through her and like establish relationships, with her team and the brand. I don't know if there's like one thing, but, and definitely the travel perk as well.
Yeah.
So it's just super fun being with her and she's just like an hilarious, like loving human. She's really full of energy. And I mean, she shows that on her page,
Yeah.
but see that she's actually really like that
Right.
is also like sometimes a surprise because sometimes, you never know how
Yeah.
someone is in real life. Uh,
100%.
but she really is super authentic and super hardworking. I think that's major.
Yeah, it is major. That you made a good point because I don't want to say definitely not most influencers. I would say it's least common than people would assume, but definitely there are some who put on a different face for online and then they're like totally not that way in person. So it's
Yeah.
it's nice when people definitely that when they match, both
Yeah.
personalities match.
And she
Love
does nothing is for show. Like
right.
she is, what she puts out there. And I think people love that about her and her personality. So
Totally.
it's been fun seeing it real time.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'd love to know how you feel like, eventually one day in the future, who knows when, but how do you feel like this role would benefit you moving forward into future roles?
So I think working with her and her agency has really given me a ton of tools right now. So, I mean, I want to continue working with her and like working on the management side. I feel like the business development and bringing in more talent, um, it's been so cool to see and learn from and lead those meetings and get to talk to other influencers. So I don't know what it's going to lead to down the line, but of course, I'd love to stay in like the social media event influencer role and just grow with it and see, where that takes me down the line.
So
But it's
cool.
hard to know what the
Yeah,
future
it
holds for
is hard to
sure.
know, especially in a job in this industry. It's like you almost don't know what opportunities are there. They kind of just come and you like go when they come. But
Mhm.
I always say that is like one of the coolest things is that like sometimes things are so good you don't even know to ask for them, one, and two, there you just don't know of opportunities that exist until they come into your inbox. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna go for this. So it is definitely one of those things where you just have to put your best foot forward every day, make those connections, that you can make. Definitely, I love that you're taking, full advantage of her network, which is awesome. And it's so cool that she I'm sure wants to encourage you to network with her network because
For sure.
that's everything. Like who you know is everything.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. So I definitely want to like build up the connections. And again, like I am a yes person. So any opportunity that comes my way, even if it does seem challenging, I'm like, why not? I never even saw
Yeah.
myself doing something like this, before. So it is cool. You never know what the future holds, and you really have to like manifest things. So if someone told me that I would be working with her day to day, getting to know her and doing everything, like I would not believe you. Like, so
Yeah, so
you
cool.
really do have to manifest what you want
And
and,
work for it too.
and
It's
work
like
for it.
both.
A lot of time and energy goes into, all of these different types of roles.
Hmm.
And you don't have to do what you studied, like,
Yeah.
jobs change, people change. So it's been fun
Yeah,
to,
that's so cool. And I love that you didn't box yourself in and say like, "Oh, but I studied hospitality. I have to like put that degree to use." Like you can do whatever you want. There's no certain path for anyone. Like just use this as proof if you're listening and you're wondering like if you're feeling pressured to apply yourself or get a job in the field, but there's a different opportunity, like do what feels right. Don't box yourself in. That's like the worst thing I think anyone could do is like put a glass ceiling above their head that doesn't exist or keep themselves boxed in or force them to do something that doesn't feel like, isn't calling to them because they feel like they
exactly.
have to do it.
Oh, for sure. You have to like reach for the stars and like nothing is too out of reach. And even if it seems like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to get that, like all you can do is try.
Hmm.
So that's really what I've learned and tried to do like in my professional life. And I take each day, I go day by day
Yep.
just to see what, the future holds. So I definitely think that if you are looking, if, you're listening and you're looking to do something that you've never done before and you might be nervous, just do it and try it. And if you don't like it, you don't like it and you don't have to do it. But, you can learn a lot and get experiences, from everything that you take on.
100%. What following that, what would be your best advice for someone who is looking to get into the influencer industry or be an influencer's assistant?
So being an influencer, I mean, you definitely have to be consistent and you definitely have to like basically never give up. I could have thought, there's a million other food bloggers, like I'm never going to get noticed, like I'm never going to get to where I want to be. But you really can't think like that. There's a lot of people doing similar things, but it's up to you to really like show your personality. Everyone has their own style and, you can grow. So if you're consistent about it, you can make it happen. So I never thought that like I could even monetize from what I was doing or get invited to the restaurants that I do get invited
Right.
to. So I think that's like number one. And then, take all opportunities that come to you or go after them. So, sometimes you have to just put yourself out there, even if you think, you have a little self-doubt or hesitation, you just never know. So always be up for a good challenge and learn from people that like know more than you and reach if there's an influencer you want to work with, like it doesn't hurt to like message them,
Hmm.
maybe because you may never know, they may be looking for you and you don't even know.
100%. Yeah, and that's something we talk about a lot with our graduates is like shoot your shot. Cold pitch influencers, even if they're not hiring, they could be thinking about it. It could be something in their back of their head. They just haven't gone around to posting it yet. And then you send them a message and they're like, oh my God, that's so
Yeah,
crazy. I was just thinking this. It's meant to be. You're hired.
and I actually get messages from other influencers too and they're like, how did Cindy find you, or like I'm actually looking for someone to help me, like, how did you get started? So I think like everyone needs help, like I even need help, I should hire my
Totally. You should. Let me know.
but yeah, like, it's just everyone needs help and there's a job for everyone and big or small, you just never know. So
100%. And that's so true. I think there's like a big misconception that someone has to be a full-time mega influencer to if they want an assistant, and that's just the furthest from the truth. Like what you just said, even you could use help. Like my older assistants hired assistants because they were making more money as my assistant, but they still wanted help like with brand pitching for their own micro influencer stuff. So like everyone needs help. They are could hire someone for 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week, whatever it is. But once someone realizes like the power of delegation and like, oh, I could actually use an extra 2 hours like for someone else to do this or take it off my plate, it's a done deal.
seriously.
Yeah. Let me know. I got you, girl.
I
If
know.
If people want to follow you and follow along your journey, where can they find you at?
Hannah Sklar, that's my Instagram. My food blog is Foodie for Fun with two N's. And yeah.
Fine. I have to go follow your food blog. I'm excited.
No,
Thank
it is
you.
super fun. So I do take breaks from it from time to time. But
Because you're
uh,
busy.
yeah, it's definitely hard being busy, but it's super fun, super rewarding. So I need to schedule myself up and schedule those restaurant
Yes.
dines.
Yes, get after it. Thank you guys so much for listening. This was an awesome episode. I know our audience is going to eat it up, no pun intended. And we'll see you guys next week for another episode. Bye.
Bye, thank you.